Welcome to the SparkOne YouTube channel, and we invite you to join us together to enter the future of creation. Why? Because we believe we can co-create with anyone on anything. And my name is Hui, and I'm your host today. Today, I'm honored to introduce our speaker, Jonathan Payne. Hi, Jonathan. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, Hui. Thank you.
Awesome. We're so happy to have you here.
Appreciate it. I'm glad you invited me. So originally I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, where I was born and raised, and I now live in the Phoenix area in Arizona, and I've been in the logistics industry since 2011, and that has been an industry that's really changed how I see business. I started working at a company called Echo Global Logistics, and I've always enjoyed working for myself. I actually took the job at Echo after working for myself. I needed to get health insurance. We wanted a second child. And, Echo is publicly traded, had no intention of staying, and ended up being the best company I ever worked for, and really changed my career path. So supply chain is incredibly exciting. I had no idea before I stepped in to Echo what it was really about. But I had heard, because I graduated from Arizona State, which has one of the top supply chain programs, that when you really think about it, the computer that we're talking on right now, everything we look around and see in the room that surrounds us was at one time moved throughout the supply chain, down to the very smallest components of the screws that put together the table, to the wood, everything. Yes. And when I started to work at Echo, I realized that you're involved when you are helping manage supply chain with that aspect of moving these goods from the origin to the destination. And we would learn about some of the most obscure products that you could imagine, and we would be an integral part of their supply chain by helping them source a carrier. Yep. And negotiate the rates, as well as provide all of the information on the track and trace and the billing of the transportation of those goods. And so that's really what there's four main aspects really of what supply chain encompasses, and that's the procurement of the equipment, the negotiation of that equipment, the tracking and the tracing of it, and then the billing of that. I think it is very behind the scenes. For people that are on the outside, that aren't in the industry, it doesn't sound very attractive. It sounds like it's just something that is not very exciting. But after working in the industry, it's incredibly exciting, and it's changed my perspective. Every time I drive down the road and I see a truck, yes. I appreciate what those drivers are doing. And I think COVID and 2020, people really started to appreciate, we need to understand that people are moving these goods that are so important to us. And that's we have to understand that these people are working over the holidays, they're working on the weekends, they're hitting these appointment times at 2 a.m. at the grocery stores. And we need to respect and appreciate the drivers that are helping keep the country moving, and the people that are helping these drivers as well. And it is, it's incredibly important, but it is not seen very often what these people are doing behind the scenes. But that's true. I've read one report that Harvard Business Review put out a few years ago, that there's roughly 40 million people that are somehow or another employed in supply chain. And so it is one of the largest industries in the country when you put in airlines to the people that are freight brokers that are talking to drivers. And it does have a higher on average salary than just about any other industry, obviously excluding engineering and computer science and things like that. But that's a much smaller pool of people, considering how many people work in the supply chain. The average salaries over $60,000,
Right.
according to the Harvard Business Review. So it's not only an abundant job, you know, but it's also people get paid. One thing that I noticed during my time and just speaking with different companies is the amount of human labor that goes into keeping track of the goods after the procurement happens. And it bothered me to see that there was so much time that was focused on finding out where a driver was, and the amount of time that was, in my opinion, not used efficiently of calling a driver, distracting him from focusing on what his task is, on overcoming all the other regulatory burdens that a driver has to deal with, to have someone calling and saying, hey, where are you? When will you be there? I knew there had to be a better solution to making those phone calls and relying on the word of a driver or a dispatcher of where that driver is. One solution that has come into place is the electronic logging devices, which track a driver's hours electronically. That is being used to track where the freight is. And so what DeliveryChain is really, our initial service offering is to provide pallet level intelligence. So we don't want to fool around with calling the driver. We would like to be able to track the pallet itself or the freight. And so we have an IoT device that we can place into the pallet, and it'll provide information on the temperature, the location, and we can also provide information on vibration, so G-force, and we can set up geofences to alert people where the location are. If they've punctured a geofence, it can notify them. So that's a solution offering that we have as an initial service.
Right. Wow, sounds like a very interesting problem, right? Like,
yes.
You mentioned about like when human involves, even we can communicate, but because of the this communication overhead, right? Sometimes also error prone, right? And then it turns out to be we spend more time actually communicating each other or finding information each other or verifying information each other versus actually in a one shot or in a most optimal way to actually do the work and get the goods moved to the next stop, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So because of those challenges, you realize that maybe there are some technology that can automatically provide that information with accuracy. Because of I believe you mentioned about how you're put that around this pallet, right? So that provides those different dimensions of information that allows the other side, somehow to kind of monitor or make a decision. Like you say, it can alert if they get out of the geofencing area, right?
That's
so
right.
That sounds fascinating because it suddenly we don't have a bottleneck on the human communication. We also free the human to do more productive
Exactly.
activities.
That's the key right there. Yeah, is that we have heard some people say, but we like to call our customer service rep, and we are certainly not stopping that, but we think that we're building upon it, and so they can have more expansive conversations with their customer service rep or someone at the company, maybe on building new business. So they're getting back to the revenue generating type of conversations. I cannot say that calling to say, where are you and when will you be there is expanding on revenue.
Sounds like a boring conversation.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, absolutely right. I think the people did not know that is when their productivity increase, they actually have more opportunities waiting for you to participate. and it's hard to kind of break this change, right?
I've mentioned it a few times, but it is one of there's a reason, is that we aim to remove blind spots that are in supply chain from origin to destination. And we want to be an integral part of people's supply chain by providing IoT solutions and mobile solutions. And by removing these obstacles that are essentially at their hands. One analogy we like to use is you don't hear of a pilot just taking a guess of his elevation anymore.
Right.
That would not be smart. We have an altimeter that now can give the information to the pilot. You know, a long time ago, when people would go to a butcher, they would ask how much something weighs. Well, we can now weigh that out. There is no guessing. Now we have a scale that can provide that. And so we equate that to the supply chain, is people can leverage the technology that's out there. And we are using the devices and the tools that are already readily available, but we're applying it to the logistics world. Yeah, I've always been fascinated with IoT, and I knew there would be solutions that I hadn't thought of when I initially found out that refrigerators were prompting consumers to re-up their milk or eggs or whatever when I very first had heard of the Internet of Things, where it's really changing supply chain is there's a large amount of just blind spots that are in people's supply chain, meaning they don't know exactly what's happening in the field at all times. And there's a lot of exchange of hands and exchange of information that happens that's in the field. And IoT can really shed light on those blind spots by providing information when people frankly just do not know the temperature of what the freight is being held in the trailer. Even the driver may not know what the temperature, if there's been a variance. And so if we're able to almost provide like a robot that can communicate and say, hey, the temperature is rising to the point to where we could have some kind of degradation to the product proactively,
right?
Then the IoT device is now really improved the supply chain. And one solution that's out there that I think is inferior to what an IoT device can provide are strips or temperature gauges that people read after the fact. So once the goods are delivered, people go back and they say, oh, at 3 o'clock, it looks like the temperature exceeded what we had required for being able to hold.
Right,
and
the historical data.
Don't think that's good enough. That's right. It's historical, it's reactive. And if we can somehow or another salvage that load, I mean, it's a disastrous situation when a driver gets to the destination and a very large receiver like Walmart is the example that we're hearing in the field is saying, sorry, but we're going to have to reject this load. Well, then the driver's stuck.
Yes,
no one wants to pay him to leave to go and destroy the product or throw it away. It's just it's a bad situation for everyone involved. And so we would like to be able to proactively help that situation.
So sounds like such a small, for example, small question, right? What temperature is, but that question sometimes will become such a critical because it will have a certain risk, because the risk will be your product may not be accepted by the final party. So I think there's what you mentioned about this use case. And especially in the supply chain moving goods, which is make sure the goods are still in a good condition in the destination, it involves a risk. And then if we can use information to actually just make sure, yeah, okay, it's moving now. If we can use information, actually can proactively, like you say, to suggest, some certain kinds of trends, right, or predictions that allows the human as an intelligent part to actually put a small actions in to work with that. I think that's instead of the wait for the last minute, which is you have a big penalty over there. I think this is a fantastic example about often we may not know why we need to care about that. I think it's not about data. It's actually about if we have that information in a certain situation, we can make a smart decision.
That's right.
And the smart decisions actually help us to lower the risk.
Yep. I mean, that's what we hope we can help people leverage with technology, is that we want to lower the risk, help make smarter decisions, and once again, put light on those blind spots, those areas that are hidden in the shadows that before there really wasn't a solution, and now there is.
Right.
So,
I love the analogy you mentioned about it. It is really the blind spots,
yeah.
And then people may not know the opportunity, right?
Is to be able to capture really rich information in the field. If we can get the driver to participate, and we have a mobile app that's available, and so we can not only track if we wanted to, if we weren't able to get an IoT device to someone in an hour, they can download the app and we could use the mobile phone. But we can also use the mobile phone for a few things. We can, for some people, they can verify a driver.
Yes,
meaning,
yes.
If unfortunately there's a lot of cargo theft because it pays well, the cargoes work well, and so we can verify through some pretty innovative methods the mobile phone itself and the authenticity of that mobile phone, if it's a burnt phone, if it's been jailbroken. But also we can get rich information, like we can get electronic proofs of delivery created through the mobile phone, or we can get information like damage to the freight or damage that happens at the site. We can get that information and seamlessly put it back into our customers' transportation management systems or their warehouse management systems, ERP systems. Through our APIs that we've built, we can put that information to their desired location. And as a solution, when I was a freight broker, we would tell the driver, hey, take a picture of that and then text it to me or email it to me. And then we would fumble around and put it into our system. Well, we can cut that time down by having those APIs built. Once those images are captured, we can then put them into their desired location. And so
that's definitely an automated process.
That's right.
Yes.
We can automate that and cut down the time spent on going back and forth on finding this information, as well as documents are really big in our industry. There's proofs of delivery, electronic bills of lading. There's things like that we can leverage the mobile phone to be able to capture. And so if you've ever, one thing that we deal with a lot in the industry are sheets of paper. There's just hundreds of sheets of paper that are in these drivers' trucks. There's, a bill of lading they pick up at the origin, and then they have to have it at the delivery, and then there's a purchase order or sales order, and we're trying to consolidate that as much as we can and cut down on the amount of physical paperwork that they have to carry around with them and keep as many electronic documents as possible. And the mobile phone really helps us in that scenario as well. Yep, that's the hope. Yep, we can cut down that time and help them improve their operations. A lot of people want to spend the time on carrier procurement renegotiating their rates with their providers. And we can free up that time to either go find new clients, help and improve on rate negotiation, not only by freeing up that time, but also by providing data on how carriers are performing. So if certain carriers are having a more difficult time reaching their destination on time, we can provide some data on that. Also, we can also use our reports to be able to provide information for insurance. So if there's been a theft to occur, if there's been damage to occur, there are times when there's a lot of finger pointing. It was this guy's fault. The damage occurred over here, not with us. And because we can see vibration sensors, or possibly where there has been a separation between our IoT device and the mobile device, because we can marry those two. And if there's been a separation and we can tell that occurred at this location, then we know we know what happened. And so by
a good point.
Pointing out like vibration, if it happened in an excessive G-force happened at a warehouse, and it didn't happen on the interstate, then the driver can then disclaim that, he is not the one that's responsible for that. And so I think that's important information. Once again, it's a blind spot that exists, that's an industry, and we can help in that situation as well.
That's awesome. Sounds like sounds like IoT data, right? And then human mobile data, and then can kind of mesh together, and then just to support the different kinds of decisions in the before situation planning, and also on the time, driving, right? And also at the end, even after that, if certain things happen. To the SparkOne community. So we have a SparkOne network as a community.
And the thing that I like about what SparkOne is doing is that it's about collaboration. And you have more than one party that is, you're not ideas. Just consuming, you're also producing, and you're helping, and the collaborating part. And it doesn't matter where you are. We're both in Arizona, but you can be in Europe, you could be in Asia, you could be in a different part of the world, and you can still collaborate on your platform. And I think that's powerful, and I think that is part of maybe what some of the big changes could be. Excuse me.
Yep.
That is definitely going to be part of what the big changes are going to be, are more people that are collaborating and less people that are just consuming. I think that's a powerful part of your program, and I think you're going to really succeed with that. I really like that idea.